finally being back in Africa, touching the soil, you know, feeling the sun on my skin, like the sun feels different, the air feels different. Like it was perfection. It was exactly what I needed. When I left Canada, it was January, which is like peak winter. And I left during a snowstorm. So before getting on a plane, I'm like running from a snowstorm, and then I land and it's like 35 degrees, hot, you know, beautiful weather. You get like the best feel of culture, you get the best local feel. You have places where you can buy food in the shops, but also you can get fresh fruits, you know, by the side of the road, because that's what we all do here. Hey everybody, so my name is Emmanuelle. Most people call me M for short. I am from Canada, Toronto specifically. Right now we are in Johannesburg, South Africa. Hey guys, it's your girl M, and welcome to my little apartment in Johannesburg. One of the reasons why I picked this place was because of a few things, and one of them was the kitchen. I bake a lot. So I had to look for something that had a full stove with the oven. Another thing that I really liked about this place is that not only does it have a washing machine, it also has a dishwasher, which is very rare in a lot of places in South Africa. Most people don't even really use the dishwasher a lot because we're usually trying to conserve on water. So I don't actually even end up using it, but let's say if I were to have like friends over and maybe we do a whole big cooking session and do all that, and then I need the dishwasher, then I would use it. So another reason why I like this place is it has enough cabinet space and drawers so that everything can fit in. Even here we have a big closet for like the cleaning supplies, and all of this stuff came with this accommodation. So that's another thing that was really great. I mean, with Airbnb, you get to kind of look for the certain type of places that you need to accommodate you in whatever way. And for me, because I'm staying long-term most of the time, I need to find a place that's gonna have literally everything that would feel like home. And that's exactly what this had, even including an air fryer. So that was one of the things too that let me know that the Airbnb host, puts a lot of thought into the space. And yeah, so I know what to look for when I'm getting Airbnbs. And if you see an air fryer and like some nice cutlery, like this knife set, even just from the photo I could tell is like a proper knife set, and that gave me hints into certain things. So I can tell like it's gonna be a nice spot, you know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff you gotta look for. It changed a lot for me. It made me see a new possibility for myself. Like I always knew I would eventually come back to the continent. I would eventually be back home in Africa, but I didn't know when. You know, I was in Canada, I was comfortable, I was building a life there. I had pretty much already built a life actually. I had like made so many memories and, you know, planted so many seeds. So I was just thinking, I'm gonna come visit for a bit, go back, and then just continue my life in Canada. But when I got here, it was like, I mean, again, I was only supposed to be there for 2 months, right? So I was in vacation mode initially, but then boom, the pandemic hits, and I had the choice to go back to Canada or avoid flying and, you know, just wait it out a little bit. And that ended up being my excuse to stay. I didn't actually even want to go back. So, but with South Africa, the lockdown was very, very strict. Like it was like they went into lockdown. I think they were one of the first countries to go into lockdown, and it was very, very strict. So I was pretty much stuck anyway, but I was fine with that. And then I think eventually it just became this thing where the longer I was here, the more I saw possibilities for myself to stay, or started to look for reasons to stay. There's so many things that are possible for you when you're relocating here. Like I always tell people, if you feel like you're a nobody wherever you are back home, you can be somebody in Africa. And that's what Cape Town felt like for me. That's what South Africa felt like. Like everywhere I went, people were interested to talk to me simply because they heard a North American accent, you know? So even just that extra advantage, so to speak, or that extra privilege opens so many doors for you easily, right? So I felt like I could be somebody, like I could create a whole new life for myself that I've sort of daydreamed about when I was in Canada, but didn't see possible. But then now when I came here, it was like things would just move so quickly. You would meet people, you would be able to experience like events and different opportunities altogether. So that gave me a whole new outlook to say like, what do I want actually, you know? And is it possible? Yeah, it is possible. It's just not going to be where I thought it was going to be in Canada. It's going to end up being in Africa. So, yeah. I also love that they had this cute little dining set. You know, everything was literally set up here just like this when I got here, and it just made it feel like this can definitely be my home for the next little while. I've had friends over, we'll sit and eat, we'll even like work on stuff on this desk here. It's very open concept, as you can see. So right from the kitchen dining area, you move right into the living space, and you have a really nice, comfy couch. For me, and actually another friend of mine who lives in the same complex, we laugh a lot about how with a lot of Airbnb spaces, they'll tend to sometimes try to cut back on costs. And one of the things they'll do is like buy like cheaper furniture. So the last place I was at and then his place, they have very hard couches, and it gets stressful after a while. So I made sure to look for places that looked like, okay, this couch looks comfy. Like you can tell by the big cushions, you know, even just the way they accented it and decorated it. There was even like a nice little blanket when I first came here and everything. So yeah, it's like the details that they put in made it extra special and made it easier for me to pick this place. And then, you know, you have the little table in the middle. You also have the TV. I love this whole living space. I love just how they set it up so nicely and put so much detail into like the decorations, into making sure it was a nice big TV. It's mounted on the wall. Like all those little details go a really long way. And if sometimes you end up having to pay a little bit more, but it's worth it if like you want to feel like, you know, it's a home away from home, or kind of get a taste of what it would be like to have your own apartment here. So yeah, I appreciated like just everything, that the way that they set it up. So
hey Web Nation family, something real is happening now. Spots for our November trip 2026 is actively being taken, and people are booking now as you watch it. That means this is no longer an idea, it's happening guys. It's real. If you've been watching these stories and you are feeling that pull and you're telling yourself, I will do it someday, that someday is now. Right now you can secure your spot with just a deposit. Now if you want a payment plan, then your deadline for payment is this April 30th. The question is simple. Are you coming? Click the link in the description now to secure your spot, or scan the QR code, and I'll see you in South Africa. Now let's get back into the video.
I've been trying to get better at budgeting and keeping track of my finances, but I'm not fully there yet. So we're gonna do like a rough estimate. So for the big things, let's say accommodations, housing, 12 to 1300 a month. Groceries alone, 3 to 400 US. Like eating out and stuff like that, 100 on eating out. Uber is my main source of transportation. As low as $4. Nails, like I used to get my nails done. 300 Rand, depending on the place you go to. The last time I got my braids done, they were single braids, 700 Rand, and they were long, and this was like a more of a higher end salon. When it comes to like socializing and events, it can be anywhere from like 150 Rand for like let's say to see a known DJ spinning and it's like a party. It could be like 150 Rand, anywhere up to like 300 Rand, depending on what it is. But yeah, most of the times, luckily, you know, I made the right friends, so I usually don't have to pay to get into places. But socializing, if you do want to do stuff on a consistent basis, it does start to add up. But it's not bad. It's really not bad. In Canada, I wouldn't be outside at all. Like in Canada, I'm just at home crying because it's so expensive. And now to probably one of my favorite parts of the place. And it's also something that I always look for when I'm finding somewhere to stay. I definitely need some sort of like balcony situation, somewhere where I can just like come outside and enjoy fresh air, enjoy the morning. I can sit out here. I can drink my tea and eat my mangoes first thing in the morning and just like, you know, take time to breathe it in before I have to rush off and do things, you know? So I really need a space where I can just like, you know, take in nature and have a little bit of quiet every now and then. So this is probably one of my favorite parts of the place. Okay, and then now towards the bedroom. I love the bedroom in its simplicity, and at the same time, it's so comfy. So one of the things that I love is like having a nice thick blanket. It takes me long to fall asleep if I'm not super comfortable. So this like type of like thick blanket is exactly what I look for, and this place had it, so that was another plus. I also love how it has, you know, like the side tables with the lamp. Like it's just certain little details that people don't think are important, but like I think it makes such a big difference, you know? Like sometimes I don't want to get back up and turn off the light, so just having the lamp right there, you can turn it on and off quick. Little things like that, you know? If you're thinking of Airbnb hosting, think of stuff like that. So yeah. I also love like the first thing in the morning when I wake up, I love being able to just like open up the blinds and letting all the sun in. I mean, today was a very, very cloudy and gloomy day, but usually by the time I'm waking up, the sun is like in the perfect spot that just like all the beautiful sunlight just starts to rush in and just fill up the room with warm energy, and like it just wakes me up, and like I can just be so grateful for where I am, you know? And even just the view from here is better on the balcony, but I get like a little sneak peek of like the city line all the way. I also like that it has like even this tree here, just having like splashes of green, you know, of nature. It does something to your nervous system. It's like we're supposed to be close to nature. So even just having this tree here and having the grass down at the bottom there, like those little things, they matter to me. And right next to or right across from my bedroom is the bathroom. And one of the things, before we even go in, one of the things that I find interesting in South Africa, you'll notice that all the light switches are on the outside of the bathroom. So I don't think I've ever been at a place where they had the light switch on the inside. It's always on the outside. And then there's also no plugs inside. So if you need to like blow dry your hair, you need to do whatever, don't even think about bringing it in here. There will be nowhere to plug it in. But This bathroom is, I like how it's just a continuation of like the theme and the decor. It's simplistic, it's modern, it's clean, and yeah, there's also plenty of space for all my little things that I need for the bathroom. And the shower, of course, the stand-up shower with a tub as well. A lot of the times, most South Africans, we don't use the tub, at least not for like soaking bathing. You're rarely ever gonna fill up the tub. Like I said, when I was talking about the dishwasher, people are very mindful of conserving water. So I will probably never use this bathtub because to even fill it up all the way, I would feel so bad because like, why am I using that much water? We got to be mindful. So yeah, I usually only ever shower, and it's nice. It's big, overhead rain shower or rain head shower or whatever it's called. Yeah. Most things are much more affordable, even rent, let's say. This is more expensive because it's like an Airbnb. It's probably actually more than $1,300 now that I think of it. But if, let's say, I was to pay $1,300, you could get like a 2-bedroom in a very nice area for $1,300 a month. But $1,300 in Toronto right now, you're barely getting a 1-bedroom. So here is definitely much more affordable. Yeah. Welcome to Webnation, y'all. This is one of my favorite places in Johannesburg. If you're ever gonna visit, you need to come to Webnation. People will probably tell you anyway. So it's a very eclectic neighborhood. There's a lot of stores. There's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of cafes and just different places to just enjoy time. You know, you can socialize, you can do work, you can enjoy the street art. There's so much street art. There's so many vendors and different types of stores you can buy things from, and it's always something happening. Like, even if there's not a specific event, it's just the energy of the place. It's so lively, it's so fun, it's like the heart of Joburg in a creative lens, like through a creative lens, and that's why I love it. When we host our trips for Jetlag Africa, we always bring our groups here, and then we also bring them to Bertrand Cafe, which is one of my favorite places also. And on a day like today, if I don't want to be working at my usual places and I'm tired of like either sitting at home or going to like a coffee shop close by, then maybe I'll take a little trip down here and get some work done at Bertrand. Yeah, so I actually work for a company called Jetlag Africa, and I work remote technically, but also what we do is based on the continent. I do have to be connected to America and Canada depending on what we're doing. So I do consider myself like remote, but also when I'm here in South Africa or anywhere on the continent, we're doing content and we're, working on projects here. And in terms of my income, no, it hasn't really changed. I would say I have as much as I did when I was back in Canada. But luckily, like I said, here is much more affordable. So it feels like it's changed only because I have more money during the month, but really it's about equal. I would say in terms of like, if you want to start a business, if you want to, go for that entrepreneur dream that you've always had, this is definitely the best place to do it, only because the markets are so open. Any industry, any like specific background that you might have, or any area of work you might want to go into, any area of business or services you might want to go into, there's so many pockets of opportunities, because maybe someone else isn't really doing that here, or they're not doing it at the scale that you know you could. Even something as simple as, like, for me, I bake a lot. And what got me into baking was, well, I've actually always loved baking, but because I have food allergies, and I can't do like wheat and slash gluten, and I can't do like eggs and dairy, I had to find ways to like bake my favorite things, but you know, adjusting the ingredients is. And what I've realized is that like here, the like healthy food, like the alternative healthy like food products industry is still young enough that like if you have an idea, or if you have something that you would be able to bring here, you would probably have a better opportunity to like succeed in that. You know, people are just starting to really get health conscious in a way where they're watching their sugar content, or maybe they're trying to cut back on dairy. So me having the skills that I have in terms of baking, the healthy alternative stuff that I do, I can see that being a potential market. Now, it's still a bit too early because they're not as like health crazy and like gluten-free crazy as in North America. There's much less allergies and like health issues here, but there are people that are interested in it, like people who are watching their weight, or athletes, you know, and maybe they want like protein packed, dairy free alternative type of options. So I've been thinking lately to get into that. I like to keep myself busy, so it's not something I would need as an income specifically, but it's just something that I'm passionate enough about that I could, you know, go into it. But if I wanted to like make it a business, I think the opportunities are like almost endless, to be honest. Yeah. Oh, I'm a whole new person. Moving here has evolved me. I feel like that, you know, the butterfly that's finally coming out of its cocoon. Like, there's so many parts of me that have been opened up and challenged even since I've been here. And it's gotten to the point where I've seen so much possibilities for myself that I didn't see before, you know, and seeing that even just in how I handle certain situations, how I show up in terms of my personality. And it's gotten to a point where I'm like, wow, when I think back to when I first landed in 2020, I'm a whole different person, and it feels interesting. That's a great question, because I haven't really even sat and thought about it, aside from like, I think like sometime last year where I was just like reflecting on certain things around my birthday, and I was like, wow, I've really evolved. But I didn't realize how much of that evolution was because of being here and just getting to explore so much, and just being so unrestricted in like my creativity, unrestricted in like, you know, just being myself, being more aware of my identity in terms of like, I get to be a different side of me that's not worried about the things that I was worried about when I was in Canada, the things that kind of held me back when I was in Canada / America. I know people talk about it all the time in terms of like your identity as a Black person, you know, for one. So when I'm here, that's so far in the back that other things get to be prioritized, and I get to see different versions of myself and get to explore so many different things about myself as well as my environment. So yeah, I would say I definitely feel like a whole different person. There's kind of two ways to look at that, for me at least, because on one hand, when it comes to socializing, a lot of my socializing I do while I'm working. So like I said, I work for Webnation Africa, which is like a travel / entertainment company. And we've been exploring more of the entertainment side and like our media production side of it. And we've also started exploring more pop culture and the creative industries in Africa. So since I've been here, majority of my time, I'm kind of feeding that part of it. So I've been making sure to network a lot, to just meet new people, go to events. And from that, that's where I get to meet people. And because I'm doing the work that I'm doing, they're interested in getting to know me, interested in connecting. You know, they want to keep in touch. They want to like build that relationship because they see what we're doing and they like what we're doing. They resonate with it. So in that sense, it's been really easy because it's like I get to lead with that. Especially even when, you know, I'm having my low social battery moments or I'm being the introvert that I am. It gives me something to talk about even with people. So yeah, socializing, it's been easy in that sense. But when I'm not working, when I'm not like in work mode, in creativity mode, it was hard because I didn't have like close friends. So in the last like year and a half, when I've been living, like coming back and forth and living in Joburg, I didn't have friends. I only had family. So I have my brother here. I have extended family here. Like I said earlier, my dad relocated here. So he has his like wife's family who we are close to, where, you know, if I wanted to hang out with people, that's who I would have to reach out to hang out with. But I was also always working a lot, so I didn't even get to hang out with them very much. Even now, I'm usually working a lot, so I rarely get to see them. But yeah, aside of family, I really didn't have many friends. It was only recently, I would say like literally late last year, where I met the right people at an event and we clicked so well. And it's like outside of what we do and outside of us being creatives and doing what we do, we actually get along as friends. And like, so now I feel like I have friends finally. Yeah. So now it's easier to socialize. Now it's easier to like call somebody up and be like, hey, you know, I want to go grab lunch, want to, you know, go to this event with me, want to like go out this weekend with me. Before I didn't really have that.
So guys, YouTube told us that 72% of you guys watching have not subscribed. Maybe you forgot. Please do subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, it's free. That's how you show your support to us, and we promise to bring you an amazing content every week, twice a week at this point. So please subscribe now and stay tuned to Webnation Africa.
The interesting thing with Joburg now, compared to Cape Town, for example, Cape Town is slower. Joburg is much more fast paced. It's, you know, it's an urban city. It's like, it's a epicenter for a lot of things. So it is more fast paced, but it's not too crazy. It's not too hectic. It doesn't feel like what I hear about like a place like Nigeria, like Lagos, for example. It doesn't feel like what I hear about New York, but it's almost the pace of Toronto, actually. I would say it's very similar to Toronto. There's actually a lot of things that I could compare Toronto and Joburg. Like I can compare the both to. I can also compare it to Ghana because I also lived in Ghana for 6 months in 2021, I think it was. And Ghana was even slower. Like Ghana was very chill. I was in Accra, and even though Accra is like a big city and a main city, it still had like this feel where everyone just takes their time, everyone takes their pace, no one is ever in a rush. Like the idea of hurrying, the idea of like urgency, I think is a very, very foreign concept to Ghanaians, but I also appreciate that. I would complain at sometimes when it came to certain things, but it's actually a beautiful way of life, you know? I think when you're in the West, there's just this constant like go, go, go. I even feel it when I land. When I land in Canada, it's like less than 48 hours of being there, I'm already feeling like, okay, I need to be on this, I need to do this, so what's tomorrow? Like there's just this, your brain switches to like this hyper productive, hyperactive mode. But here you're kind of forced to switch to a different part of your brain and just like, just go with life a little bit, kind of like take it as it comes. And I think that also comes from the way of life for people here. They genuinely do approach life like that. It's like, take it as it comes, so yeah, when I'm here, it's like I can choose to go fast, especially if I'm in a place like Joburg. But if I'm at a place like Cape Town, I can definitely, relax more, take my time, breathe in the fresh air, all that stuff. But yeah, Joburg feels like Toronto, actually, in terms of how busy it is. My definition of rich, I mean, of course you have your like financial wealth, right? In terms of like not worrying about money, that type of rich. But yeah, I think, and it's gonna sound corny, and I'm sure other people have said something very similar, but it's like, you get to remember the important things of life that don't have to do with money when you're here. And I think it's because of the influence of the culture here. In the West, everything is very, me, hyper individualistic, success. Like it becomes that type of conversation. But for African people, our values are so ingrained in terms of things like family, in terms of things like community. When you hear it takes a village, like that phrase, for me, I understand it in a much deeper way than I think the average North American does, because I've had so much time spent on the continent. I'm African. Like, it takes a village is literally that. Like, any area of life that you can think of, it's going to take multiple people. And you even see it in the way that people like treat each other here. Like, you could walk up to somebody, or even, I'll use an example. Yesterday, I was leaving the mall and a young girl came up to me and had no issues and no hesitation to ask me to help her get a Uber. And immediately her and I are like working together, trying to figure it out, because I had to get my own. But yeah, like we exchanged WhatsApp right then and there. And like, I was giving her my phone to like, type her stuff in and look up where she had to do. And it felt like there was no awkwardness in that. And I think it's because like here people have that like it takes a village mentality, but also you're constantly interacting with people that look like you, right? Or that look like your cousin. So it feels very familiar. It feels very natural, very easy. In terms of like rich, I think that is rich to me, right? It's like there's money and then there's resources. I recently started to look at things like resources are more important than money, or you can just look at money is a resource. So you should focus more on that, not just hyper focusing on the dollar, right? Because you can have very little here, but then still get by because you have a network of people around you constantly. You can figure out the next plan because your cousin or your neighbor or your friend, like there's always people around you as a support system in one way or another. So I think in that way, when you have that many resources, that is wealth to me. That is being rich. Having money, for sure, like having money itself obviously is always a good thing, and it gives you more opportunities and more choices. But for me, when I think about money, it's like I just think about what I could do with that money with other people and for other people. And I'm so serious when I say that. It sounds very corny and cliche, but that's genuinely how I look at, or I imagine myself being financially wealthy. It's like it gives opportunity for us to do more with Jet Lag Africa, because there's so much we want to do, and with that you need money, right? So everything we do It's just so that we can make money to do more things, to offer more trips, more free trips, more experiences. Like, our mission is very, very big, and we're gonna obviously need money for that. But that's the only time I think about money, really. You know, I don't care to like buy a Lamborghini or care to buy like a 5-story penthouse, whatever. Like, those aren't the things that I think of when I think of wealth, when I think of being rich. Yeah, I definitely have a few. Like I said earlier, I'm getting better at budgeting. I'm getting better at keeping track of my finances. But when I think about like the last 5-6 years since I've been here, there was a time when I was getting more money and I didn't have much that I needed to spend it on. I wish I had invested it. I wish I had like done something with it. Like, for example, bought some land in Ghana, especially around that time in 2020, 2021, land was cheaper than it is now. Like, Ghana's just progressively gotten more expensive. But if you were fortunate enough to be able to, like, let's say buy some land, a couple of years ago, that value has probably gone up already. And within the next decade or so, it's probably going to even just keep going. So I definitely wish I had, maybe like bought some land, you know, or something. Maybe invested in a business with someone, because I know a lot of people in Ghana too that have started businesses. So I could have partnered with someone maybe. And then I think too, like, the reason that I wasn't making good money decisions was because everything feels so much cheaper here that you trick yourself and you start thinking you have more than you have. Because it feels like you're not really, you know, like, not much is coming out. So you're like, oh no, I'm good. But then, no, it's gonna add up. It's definitely gonna add up. So yeah, I think that actually is what inspired me to start like being more money conscious, because like I just think back of so many opportunities that I missed and like things that I wanted to do but I couldn't, because like I had money a month ago but now I'm broke, and it's like, you know. So yeah, but in terms of like money things that people should be cautious of though, that's definitely one of them. And also, you know, we do talk a lot about coming here, you know, come home, diasporans come back, invest, and, you know, start businesses and do all those things that I'm even talking about. But you do have to be extra careful, just because each place is so different, that you might not know the standard of operations there, you know, legally and literally, and then also like just how people are, you know. There's things that people get away with that seem like the norm, but actually it's illegal. So you do have to be mindful of certain things like that. And then the justice system, it may sound like they're going to be on your side and they're going to help you, but you might then be out of luck, even if you go to the police, even if you go to authorities, you know. So yeah, you want to just be extra on your toes and you know, keep your eyes and your ears open and ask a lot of questions to people that have done it before you, or people that are or locals, you know, so that you can figure out, like, is this a smart decision? Should I do this with my money? Should I trust this person? Type of thing. In 5 years, I better be here. And here meaning just Africa. I don't care where it is on the continent, but I definitely need to be on the motherland, because I really don't see my life anywhere else now. There's so many things I want to do, and like I see it all possible here in Africa. And also, like, we're going through a renaissance of some sort here, and it's like the best time to be on the continent is now. The best time to be in Africa or doing anything related to the continent is now. And then within the next 10 years, things are only going to keep getting better. So like, when I think about any of my passions, whether it's work or creatively, well, I'm in mainly creative spaces, but like any work that I want to do, any ideas that I have, it's like when I think of where they would work best in the world, it's here, because The opportunities here are so different. Things are just starting to like take shape in a sense of like, let's take, for example, the movie industry. It's not just Nigeria that has a flourishing movie and entertainment industry. Every country in Africa has that. It's just at what scale and how mainstream is it, and how global and how globally visible is it. So if, for example, you are someone who has passion for film and entertainment, go to Kenya and be one of the early pioneers that are helping make the industry there more global. You know, like, you would be so shocked at how good these industries are doing, and the quality is actually really amazing. Like, I think we start to have such low expectations because it's Africa, but then when you see it, you're gonna change your mind, because it's amazing. Like, in the last month or two, the best films that I've seen, the best short films that I've seen, have been coming from Kenya. So yeah, when it comes to anything that's possible, it's possible here. And if I'm anywhere else in the world, I would still even be doing work connected to Africa. I'll just use a quick example too. I'm working on a project. I started a nonprofit with two friends of mine who are from Toronto. They're artists, and we want to bridge creatives all over the world. So, for example, we brought those two artists here to Johannesburg from Toronto so that they could explore the music industry here and the entertainment industry. And when they got here, they were so impressed and they were so amazed at everything that took place. Like, the people that they met, the musicians that they got to interact with. We had we made a studio, like a makeshift studio for them at the place we were staying at. It ended up being kind of like a studio camp type of situation. And they made songs that sounded so good. Like, they were just mind blown. So it inspired them so much that when they got back, they were like, we want to do this more. We want to continue doing this. So that's part of like the long-term vision that I have. So in 5 years, I would hope that our nonprofit has now gotten to the point that we've interacted with and, you know, worked with creatives all over the world. You know, we're starting in South Africa and Canada, but then we want to go to so many other countries, UK, Australia, Brazil, like anywhere. We want to touch base with so many creatives, but it's all going to, in some way, be involved with Africa, because that's the next, I think it could be the next entertainment hub of the world, to be honest. Like, there's so much here, there's so much talent here, there's so many resources here, there's so many capable people, so many capable young people. Like, imagine having more schools and more education that give young people those skills, because they already have the passion, they already have, like, they're hungry here, they're ready to do whatever it takes, and they do it on their own. So imagine if they had support and resources, we would see something we've never imagined possible. You know, people here are so creative, so imaginative, so capable, that I can only imagine what's possible, you know, in terms of what we could do, how we could shift and influence the next trends. Like, Afrobeats is such a huge a contributor to the global entertainment industry. Like, they're pushing billions in terms of what Afrobeats is capable of doing, and in terms of revenue. So it's like, imagine now with other genres that live here that have not been heard yet. So it's like, there's just so many things I can think of, but it's like, how can I not be anywhere? How can I be anywhere else but Africa in 5 years? That's the way I look at it. So advice that I would have, I would say, especially if you're a young person, I think in terms of like advice for relocating, For example, it's all the same stuff you've probably heard before, you know, like do your research, visit if you can first, and visit for an extended period before you know, make that leap. But if I was addressing this to younger people, like 19-year-old me, 20-year-old me, even like people like my younger siblings, I'm telling them all the time, just come. Just come here. Like, just come here and see for yourself, like, how much of a new world you can open up. When you're young, you have less that you have to worry about. Like, if you don't have kids, right, that's already something that then allows you more freedom. You haven't maybe, let's say, gotten like too deep into a certain aspect of your career. So yeah, the younger you are, or at least obviously not too young, but like, let's say like 19, 20, 21, 22, like that is the perfect time to like just jump, just go out there and do something crazy and then see what happens. You know, your 20s are supposed to be that time where you know, you learn about yourself, you experience new things, you do crazy things and make mistakes, and it's okay because you're still young and it's like you can get away with it, right? You're young. If I have advice to give, I would give the same advice I'm giving like my younger siblings. It's like, just take the leap, come, save money, you know, get a job, work for like 2 years, maybe even a year, where if you're good enough at saving, and then just take a trip, take a long trip if you can, or network. Now that you have social media available to you, like before I came to Cape Town, even though I had family here, I still wanted to see what other, you know, or who else I could meet. And I started doing that even before I came. So I was like reaching out to people even on Instagram. I looked up like hashtag Cape Town or hashtag Cape Town, South Africa. And then I would click that. And then I remember going through a bunch of videos, and I saw one specific video that stood out to me because I saw a bunch of people who, they looked cool. They looked like they were having fun. They looked like they were living the type of life I want to live. And I messaged one of the people. And I was just like, hey, I know this is so random, but I'm so-and-so from Toronto, Canada, and I want to visit Cape Town very soon. I'm going to be coming there in a few months. And I saw your page and you looked really cool. And I just wanted to see if, you know, you can help me out in terms of finding the best places to do this, finding the best places to do that. And the person reached back out to me and was like, yeah, for sure. So don't be scared. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Take that leap and know that when you come here, you get to be that brave version of yourself. You get to be that different version of yourself. Because like now it's not the same people who've seen you throughout middle school and high school who are going to hate on you and be like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? It's like you get to be a completely new person and just discover yourself in a whole new way. So yeah, if I had advice to give, it would definitely be towards young people to just go for it. Take that leap and go for it. I think we are, but I'll say not in the way it's talked about. I think we are at the end of a cycle and a way of life and a way that the world functions that needed to end. And then we're gonna renew into something different. When I even think of AI, for example, a lot of people, when they talk about AI right now, there's a lot of like hesitation, fears, and hate towards AI. And I do get it. It's warranted in certain areas, but I think the whole perception and like just how everyone is more fearful than anything, and they're like worried that AI is going to replace this, and they're just trying to replace humans altogether. And it's like, I don't think that can ever happen. We as people actually have an opportunity to get closer to our humanity because of AI. Or maybe let me use an example. So you have AI music, right? And everyone is like, oh, now we're not gonna have, like AI is gonna take over the whole music industry. And in my eyes, I'm like, well, let AI take over the industry, but let people still make music. because, or not even let, I think even if AI was to start spreading and taking over the music industry, I think there's still going to be people everywhere who love making music, so much so that they won't stop. Like, I think it's going to help us remember how to separate music and the industry side of it versus the craft and the pure essence of music. I think we're going to get back to remembering what we love about the art, what we love about supporting musicians. The way we support musicians is probably going to look different. I think, for example, we're going to go back to more live events, right? And going and consuming music in person as opposed to being at home and streaming it, right? Because at that point, you won't know if you're listening to an AI artist or not. But if you're going and you're seeing the musician live, it gives you that comfort and that knowing that you're supporting a person. And also you probably will get to see people pushing themselves creatively in new directions that they never have before, because AI did something where instead of just ruining an industry, I think it's going to reshape it. And that's actually another project that I'm working on personally with some friends of mine. We're doing something that's going to bring the power back to the people when it comes to creating and consuming music and supporting artists. So I'm personally not scared of AI. I think it's just a natural progression. I think most things in today's society are a natural progression. We would have gotten here at some point because we had already started on this path. So in terms of an end or end times, I think, yeah, we are ending, but it's the same as like 2010 had to end so 2011 could begin. So to me, it's more of a transition, if anything, but it is definitely the biggest, or not the biggest, but one of the biggest we will have in history since, the internet, and then since other major milestones within society. This is the last generation where you have kids who are born not needing or not having devices all around them all the time. Like my goddaughter that's probably the last generation, or last generation of people who aren't integrated with technology, having chips inside of us and all this and all that. Like, that's a reality that's going to happen, or is happening actually. But I think the human spirit is so strong that there's people who are going to still want to live naturally and maintain the systems that we've always had. And I think that's why I also love Africa, because it's like I can see both worlds.